So, all right, Matt, how's it going, man?
Not bad, mate. Feels like it's been ages since we sat down.
I know, man.
I think it actually was, actually.
It's been a while anyway. I think we recorded, 6 or 7 in December. So
Yeah.
I think it's been a bit of a double-edged sword for me because even though we built them up because we knew January would be a tough time, it's ended up spewing into February and you're out of practice almost.
Aye.
But how's the new year been treating you?
Pretty good. I've just been sort of working away, really. I mean, no much choice after Santa empties your pockets in December, you know. The life of parenthood is joyous in that respect. So I've just been working away, you know, not really up to much. Bit of football, caught up with a few mates when I could, but other than that, I think in relation to this, I've been kind of filling the gap with the sort of recently launched Rebel City blog. Obviously posted a wee kind of hello and intro a few weeks ago just to kind of get things moving. Subsequently posted in last week, which an article about outrage culture that became the basis for last week's Rebel City short. Got a few ideas bubbling out in that area just to try and essentially, you know, shit post. It's just nonsense that I'm thinking and try to put down on paper just for the sake of it, really.
Aye.
So we'll see how that goes.
I actually thought, I mean, obviously I had absolutely no input on the short. I actually thought it was hilarious.
Oh, well, thanks very much. I want to kind of approach things with like a fairly reasonable level of sarcasm,
Right.
because that's kind of my default language most days anyway. And yeah, I mean, in terms of what we were talking about, it's one of these things now that's everywhere. Everybody's outraged by everything all the time, and I'm a wee bit sick of it. So I'm on. I think the point I was trying to make was that it's all right to, you know, sometimes not have an opinion on something. You know what I mean? Like, just because you've got a platform to express yourself doesn't necessarily mean you need to get involved every single time. So, yeah, we'll see. I mean, in the next sort of couple of weeks, I've been kind of, through January, I've been true crime daft. So I've watched obviously the various, you know, Ted Bundy tapes, and I went back and watched a few of the like, Nick Broomfield documentaries on Eileen Wuornos, and subsequently watched the Charlize Theron monster movie about her and her life and her sort of crimes and stuff like that. And it's kind of got my brain ticking now, especially in relation to our last guest there, or second last guest, Michael Byrne, and his sort of experience with trauma, because you look at the Bundy stuff and like he was a nutter. He was like crazy, charismatic but crazy. But I think looking at the Nick Broomfield documentaries in relation to Eileen Wuornos, I think she's a bit hard done by being called a serial killer. I think her crimes were, you know, exaggerated for media and for, you know, that 24-hour news cycle, etc. But like, I think she could quite easily be framed in, you know, terms of trauma. Like,
Right.
she was trapped inside a lifetime of abuse, a lifetime of prostitution. She'd been raped a number of times, and enough was enough. You know what I mean? Like, and the you know, I think it's pretty clear that she clearly did kill the first guy, and, you know, other the 7 in like self-defense, and then get trapped in that cycle. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
So it's weird when we've talked about trauma recently and how we're starting to understand it in the newer age, how different principles could maybe have been applied in the past to things like that. So
I'm not actually that up with that sort of case. I've never seen Monster. It's been I've seen it, obviously, like kicking about, and seen that I know it exists, but I don't really know that much about.
She portrays her as quite like a sort of human, you know, a kind of flawed human person. And I think it was stuck in my mind because, you know, obviously they won the Oscar associated with it, and that's kind of what brought it to my attention years ago. The documentaries popped up on one of the video platforms recently, and I was just in that sort of true crime mood, and it kind of caught my attention. It was just the difference in it. So in terms of the blog, it's something that's kind of spinning about in my head just now, just like notions of normality, like, were they normal, were they victims, you know, these types of things. What questions can we ask, what do we learn off it? So that's sort of percolating amongst a few other things.
The Ted Bundy stuff, I was watching that with Sean, and obviously we have ongoing conversations about mental health and about these different bits and pieces, and I'm of the opinion that people are, nobody's born like a bad person.
Okay.
That it's kind of something happens somewhere along the line, either, and it doesn't even necessarily need to be blatantly traumatic. Either they're introduced to violence at an early age, or even like in the case of like Fred West and people like him, even just being encouraged to kill animals.
Yeah.
At like a really young age. Like, I mean, I think that the thing I watched on him is that he grew up on a sort of farm, but he was encouraged to kill rabbits and foxes for like 5.
Yeah.
And then they get that sort of taste for the. But it's almost like, especially if that's the environment, it's almost like you need to kill them because it's better for the environment. But then it sort of I don't want to humanise, but it sort of desensitises the person, and it almost gives them an excuse to go, well, sometimes you need to kill things.
Yeah.
And
there's a gratification in it as well that you're doing
definitely
something potentially useful for that scenario. I mean, this is kind of what sparked my thinking on it, was that when you look at the triggers that tend to lead to this type of behaviour, as in, petty theft, arson, mutilation, sexual assault, Pete and Tom, and so on and so forth. Like, I don't know how much of that the Bundy tape showed us that Ted Bundy went through. I don't feel
to get back to what I was going to say is that when we were sitting watching it, she had said to me, because I just remembered why I was bringing it up there, she'd said to me, well, here you go, here's a guy that's had nothing, and then they drop in a tiny wee thing, but it says his granddad was like hyper violent, and that he get put with his grandparents, and I just turned around and looked at him and went, well, what's happened there? They don't really go into it. Definitely. That isn't to make an excuse for anybody that's ever killed anybody to go, well, let's just go and find the trauma and then make it. That's why. But like you were saying earlier, we're starting to get to a place where we're starting to understand. I listened to a podcast with a guy, and he was like Canada's leading expert on heroin abuse.
Okay.
And it had led him to look at the sort of judicial system in North America, which obviously is going to be hugely interesting, especially in America, but it was prevalent in Canada. And he had said in this podcast that basically prisons are like mental institutions. Like every single person that he's met that's in a prison has either been sexually, emotionally, or physically abused in their upbringing. So it's almost like we've turned, because, I mean, where are the mental hospitals?
Aye.
Where are they? Like, they don't really exist anymore. It's almost like we've turned them into prisons in a way that, so that you don't need to take care of them. You can just throw, even though it's cost us a lot of money. But in North America, it doesn't cost them a fucking penny. But this guy was basically just saying that pretty much all addictions and a lot of sort of crime is based on trauma, is based on poverty.
Definitely. And in terms of the one loss, this is the one where I was kind of going with that, was that there was no obvious suggestion. There was a mention of Bundy having been with grandparents, as you say, but there was no like historical thing that really obviously drove him, and he went on to commit horrible crimes. With Warnos, like, she's more to me now, after having spoken with Michael, as representative of somebody who has had successive traumas over a long period of time, has had substance abuse, alcohol abuse, all these other things in the play, and like her crimes were an expression or a culmination of all of those sort of circumstances, kind of similar to Michael's CPTSD. But not to say that she didn't commit crimes, she absolutely did, and but when you go about the mental health side of things, like, in the end, like, she was begging for the state to kill her. Like, she didn't want to be here anymore, and like the electric chair, or Sparky as they were referring to it, was almost a kind of like relief to her. So she went through like medical examinations, mental examinations, and they passed her fit to be executed, which was a weird thing to me. Like, if somebody's got 7 life sentences, we're going to say it's all right to kill them. And the guy Broomfield goes through a really graphic walkthrough of like the final stages of being executed and explaining it along the way, and it's like, it's a really fucking unpleasant experience, and you can't imagine anybody ever wanting to be there. Yet she's gone, no, kill me, and they were like, right, cool, but they evaluated her, and you're like, so at what point is it, oh, we're going to kill this murderer, but no, she's crazy, like, what, what I mean, where's the line there? And she obviously was not in her right mind, but yet the drive to put her in the chair was massive. You know what I mean? Like, and it's, I don't know.
Do you think just... I mean, I'm totally against capital punishment.
Yeah.
100% against it. But do you think there comes a point where somebody's so damaged that, especially if somebody that's done that level of sort of brutal crime and they're asking to be killed, is there something that, or is it all right to just be like, do you know what? Let's just... Because if they're traumatised, then they're suffering almost.
I think it makes it easier for the people who have failed her in her life. There was a lot of interviews in this particular instance with schoolmates, classmates, neighbours, and various other people who have, met her and claimed to know her through her life and stuff like that. And it's quite weird to see some of them, when they're up on the stand in court and film and stuff like that, really deal with the line of questioning that comes at them that is implying you contributed to this. Like, there was a high school boyfriend that, used to take her around the back of sheds with his mates and run lineups on her, and then out in the schoolyard be like, get to fuck off, and treat her like dirt and stuff like that. And his line of questioning, you could see him actually being like, I know that I contributed to this, and I've had to live with that. And I think the death penalty maybe makes life easier for they guys, but doesn't bring anybody back, and it doesn't allow somebody like a Warnos who is a victim in a certain sense, maybe come to terms with things in a more healthy manner.
Or even for us to learn.
Aye.
I think that this is a conversation that I had backwards and forwards with a couple of people over the last couple of days with this Syrian situation with the ISIS bride. And I did a wee bit of reading into what had actually happened, and not just reading like whatever the Guardian. I read a few things, and it looks to me like this girl has been groomed, has been sold, or no sold because there maybe no money, but she's been arranged to go here and marry an ISIS soldier. And when you look at the propaganda that's out there for young people, especially young people that are involved in Islam, it's almost like they're saying, come to this haven, like the Islamic State, and we will take care of you, everything's here, and blah, blah, blah. And then this girl's get pregnant, she wants to come home, and the reaction to it online was almost like lacked any kind of compassion for it. I mean, she was 15 when she went there.
Absolutely.
She's fucking 15. The amount of people that are out there going, she needs to learn from her mistakes. She's made her bed. Ha, ha, ha. She's made her bed. And it's like, these people are getting gang raped. Like, this isn't...
And that's grim.
This isn't like fucking... And that's a child that made that decision.
Aye.
And probably wasn't even made for... It was probably made for her.
They're not going out there for the lifestyle, the housewives of ISIS, you know what I mean? Like, they're not sitting there with their feet up, you know what I mean? Like, they're heavily pregnant and victims of sexual assault in the middle of a war zone. Like, so, there has to be a degree of separation in terms of how we talk about these things. Like, there is a person involved, and look, there's a baby that's not even born. You know what I mean? What is that child ever
if that's
done
a boy
to anybody?
And in 20 years, that boy blows something up, then where's the people that will be sitting there going, she's made her bed, she needs to learn a lesson? Could be a fucking harsh lesson for more than just her.
What happens if having her back in the UK allows authorities here to actually provide them with a quality of life that takes them out of that situation? You know what I mean?
Well, to my point, to the couple of people that I was dealing with, and to be fair to them, none of them were that aggressive. I wasn't in fucking Katie Hopkins' post about it. It was predominantly people from Glasgow. It was a couple of Celtic supporters, and I thought these will be a couple of people that I can engage with on this and actually go, mainly to just sort of bounce my ideas and go, am I really wrong here? Because my opinion is that if we get even young men that have been radicalised, have lived here, which, let's be honest, we live in probably the most comfortable environment that exists on the planet. I mean, we're in Scotland, and even though there's poverty and there's our own issues, in comparison to the rest of the planet, we're pretty fucking comfortable.
Yeah.
Right? You can go to Tesco. I mean, I could go and get water. Right?
Well, you can for the next couple of weeks at least.
probably talk about that more later. But if somebody's born in this country and ends up at 15 thinking, do you know what, I'm going to go to a war zone, I'm going to marry somebody that is radical, also been radicalised, and I'm going to go and live this life, I think that we should be bringing them back, and psychoanalyzing the fuck right out of them to understand what was the contributing factors that ended up with you being radicalised. Because see, until we actually understand it, we'll never stop it.
The notion of war is something that has always been like actively romanticised in the minds of young men. I mean, even back through World War One and Two, you know what I mean, like, and probably beyond that again. Like, you know, young men are needed for war. So, you know, whether it be ISIS and Twitter, you know, propaganda, or whether it be, you know, the poster of, you know, your nation needs you. You know, it's all the same thing. You know what I mean? It's that they need young bodies to mangle, and that's the only way you can get them. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think look at the British Army thing recently, where it was, you know, advertising for snowflakes and all that kind of bullshit. I mean, how is that any different to what we're seeing elsewhere? You know what I mean? Like, it's the same tactics for the same reason. You know what I mean? Like, so I think we're probably better off thinking, why do we need wars, and why do we need to send young men out to fight for what? You know what I mean?
And in that case, I would think that we've probably no interest in finding out why these people have been radicalised, because then it's part of the system, isn't it? It's part of the cycle of destruction that we currently fucking live in, and we all know how much we need war. More than we need pretty much anything else on the fucking planet.
Yeah,
but,
totally.
I just feel like that as a society that we should be taking these people back in. And
we should be trying to. It might not always be possible.
Especially when they ask.
Yep.
Especially when they're asking for help. I mean, there's a few people out there that were saying, she's saying that she regrets nothing. And it's like, right, but like, jail her then? Do you know what I mean? Bring her back, put her in jail, and then people would be like, well, that costs the taxpayer money, and it's like, fuck off, got enough money to fucking do whatever the fuck we want.
No, totally.
Get your fucking head out your arse. But I feel like we lack this compassion. I think that we lack this compassion when people commit crime. We lack this compassion when people are mentally ill. And if somebody can be radicalised like that for any religion, whether it be you're a radicalised Christian, which they fucking exist,
absolutely,
be honest, and if you're a radicalised Jew or you're a radicalised Muslim, you're mentally ill to me. To me, there's an element of mental illness that's involved there. If you actually think that by strapping a fucking bomb to your back and that you'll go to heaven and have 50 virgins, I think that there's cognitive discourse in there, especially if you grow up in the fucking UK, where you can clearly see that. Do you know what I mean?
Everything's here for you. You know, if for you to actually make a positive contribution to society, if you so choose. I don't know. I think as well, you know, is this lack of compassion, like, you know, the marginalisation of a lot of these people. You look at the Goddards and, you know, yellow vest nutters that are running about, you know, trying to claim what's going on in France for their own sort of purposes. You know, it's probably pretty easy to see, and you talk about a Katie Hopkins who's given a nationwide platform by multiple, you know, media organisations over the course of their pretty frivolous career. You know, why would these guys not feel marginalised when everywhere they go and everywhere they see there is somebody telling them that, you know, go back to a country you weren't even born in? You know what I mean? Like, we need to address that, and it comes from that compassion that you're talking about. Like, it's understanding, like, you know, empathy, these types of things. Like, we lack them for other people on a massive scale. You know what I mean? Like, but we're told not to care. We're told it's all about us. Concentrate on you. Get you first, and then worry about, you know, whatever comes next after that. And I don't know. That probably needs to change to a certain degree. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know where you start though. I think in terms of where we're going as a country, you know, as I say, Brexit and whatnot in the next couple of weeks, like, the movement has been in the other direction for me in recent years, very much so, where, you know, until such times as maybe an independent Scotland or maybe Brexit, you know, if we're ever lucky enough to have it fall apart at the seams, you know, we can maybe change things. But the direction the country's on now, I can only see that marginalisation of these others, you know, becoming worse. So I can, which is a pretty sad thought.
Definitely. How do you feel about the I mean, the original yellow vests, like the French version, which seems to have started with like a sort of student uprising.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're saying that we're going to have the European version of the Arab Spring happening.
Yeah.
It'll happen here. The defining moment will be Brexit, and then it will be like a domino effect, like Frexit, and then I don't know what the Italian version is, but they're the two countries that are cited are being really, really close.
The Italian economy is about to absolutely tank, and it's obviously been struggling with political uncertainty and a lot of weak coalition governments in Italy and stuff like that. So yeah, they look as if they're in danger of some almost sort of Greek style crisis potentially. France in the yellow vest. I'm going to be honest with you. At the time, it kind of passed me by because my lifetime, I'm used to seeing French people go out and set fire to shit in the streets for no very much, pretty regularly. So at the time, I kind of went, there's the French at it again, well played to them. You know what I mean? And then kind of dusted out, and it wasn't until I then seen people pop up with yellow vests on like Westminster Bridge and stuff like that. That was like, right, hold on. There was a wider significance to the yellow vest that I seen the other week. You know what I mean?
I think like in this country, I'll be honest, like I was kind of enthused by like seeing the French, and it was just like, this is kind of what we fucking need.
A modern French Revolution.
This is what we need. Like we need to get off our arses, get our heads out our fucking phones, and go and tell them how we feel about what's going on. Not necessarily be violent, but I think that for what I've seen, when you cut through the bullshit, the violence has been forced on them by the police. The police haven't, and I mean, it's army. They're no police. They're fucking flak jacket.
We can post it to the feed later on. I seen a picture tweeted out the other day about the school strike, the students that all went on strike in favour of climate change. And there was a picture of like a 12-year-old lassie sat down on the flare in handcuffs, hands behind her back in handcuffs, and you're like, what? Like, what possible threat was that 12-year-old lassie? But it's just the language of protest. You know what I mean? Like, is that, we'll need to pad some numbers here and lift some bodies to justify having so many police officers here. You're like, fucking school kids. Like,
no,
how does school kids at any point end up in handcuffs at a fucking environmental march? You know what I mean? Like, I've got no idea. But I think there is, you talk about Italy, France, obviously there was the Bond villain looking guy in Holland with the silver flat top kind of carry on that was going on goose something or other, and I think it's about the kickback against the globalisation, like the EU, and obviously the reaction here in Brexit has been about globalisation. I think, and I think when you look at the yellow vest in France and stuff like that, there's a similar kind of theme there. Where
same with Trump.
Yep,
because it's an anti-immigration like message. If you take away the wall and the things that he said about Mexicans, he didn't really say a lot. I mean, drain the swamp.
Yeah.
But he didn't really say much. He's cut through. His message was anti-immigration, anti-other, whether it be Muslims or Mexicans. So I think, you're bang on. It is like a sort of reaction to the mass globalisation that we've seen since the 70s.
Isolationism's coming back in a big way. I mean, can only imagine what's going to happen in Brazil in the next few months. Obviously, this guy is potentially very scary. But again, Brazil has got there in recent years because of scandals related to national petroleum, corruption, and all these other things that we've seen happen everywhere else that have precipitated these movements. But it's that, coziness with the big business and the corruption of the process as a result of it. And I don't know how they're going to buck that trend. You know what I mean? Like, I seen a really great thing for my absolutely new favourite woman in the world, the lassie Ocasio-Cortez.
She's brilliant, isn't she?
She just does not give a fuck. And like,
look at the way she's portrayed in America, though. It's hilarious.
She's like the she-devil. So she is like, she
wants to give people free healthcare.
She wants people not to die and people to be able to read. Like, what the fuck is that? You know what I mean?
So strange. So fucking strange.
And the best that they can throw at her is, by the way, she used to do a wee bit of dancing in a music video when she was at college. And you're like,
Trump's
cool
wife is pretty much a professional prostitute, so your first lady.
Allegedly.
Well, I mean, she's with him for the fucking money. There's no way she's fucking shagging him for anything other than fucking...
Who was it? Was it The Guardian that had to pay her the other week there for similar accusations? I've
not got anything for them to take. So
I know. It's one of these things now where it's popping up everywhere, and I think it is a reaction to that sort of globalisation. Like, people feel more small than ever before because so few control so much, and I don't know if protest is even really all that effective anymore.
Well, I think this is part of why I don't think that we've took to the streets in a big way. I think there's a couple of things, but the two main factors for me are the reason why I wouldn't be going on the street with a yellow vest on is because it's been hijacked by the right in this country.
Definitely.
And the fucking idiot right as well. No, I mean, that fucking arsehole that's down there every week, he's fucking... Do you know what he needs? A swift kick to the fucking balls. That's what that guy needs. See this bullshit, like Tommy, I can't even remember that guy's Goddard,
right?
And then Tommy Robinson. I'll be on the front line after he's took like two lines of ching. Like, I would love to see that guy be confronted by even just a one-on-one confrontation with somebody that's willing to take them on face value and be like, let's go to war then, and we'll just have an individual war between me and you, because they're all full of shite. That Goddard guy, you can see he's a coward. Every time he's shouting at people, he's doing it behind somebody's back with his megaphone.
Aye. This
is war and we're taking our country back. It's like, the guy, you need to get a fucking grip of yourself, mate.
The guy, Mike Staunchbury, is that call him? Something like that.
Aye.
He did a good wee thread a couple of weeks ago on how these guys operate in terms of like GoFundMe operations and stuff like that, which was quite interesting. Did like 7 or 8 tweets, and it was like quite eye-opening, some of it. So it's definitely maybe something we can retweet on as well, just to give people an idea of how much of a facade it is. It really is a scam in a lot of respects, this type of behaviour. It's that they're like Trump and like the fella in Brazil and, you know, Holland and so on, the Farages of this world, like, they're trying to fleece idiots. You know what I mean? Like, trying to line their pockets off of stoking other people's stupidity. You know, or ignorance maybe is probably a more fair sort of representation of it. And these sort of GoFundMe scams are just, I mean, it's literally like the bloody Wagner videos where you pay him 20 quid and he shouts your mate's name in a song. You know what I mean? Like, it's just much. Literally put your money in the tin and I'll say what you want me to say on Facebook Live. You know what I mean? Like, it's karaoke.
Robinson was putting something up about the BBC had quoted him. I don't even know what it was for. I just didn't. I should engage more with it if I'm going to talk about it, but he had been quoted something like, for us to put on this some sort of fucking event for the PA system, the stage, if you want to do it, we'll do it. It'll cost you 20 grand. And the BBC had like set out this. I don't even know what it was for.
Right.
But it was like a quotation for the BBC to put on some sort of event. And
so he hit them with a price list?
No, they hit him with a price list. If you want to do it, you can do it, but you'll need to pay for it. I don't know if it was something, but it was definitely for the BBC, and it was like the stage and all of these different bits and pieces. And he was on begging. I mean, basically begging, going like, let's make this happen. Now, he knows that the people that follow him are going to fund it.
Yep.
But
the platform, the exposure, something like that would give him.
Exactly.
It's priceless.
But do the people that fund it realise that this guy's get a salary for that fucking Breitbart guy in America?
Aye.
Do they realise the amount of money that he's receiving, that he stays in a mansion, that he's getting multiple cars, that he doesn't do anything? He prances about. I mean, videos of him in Israel with his mates taking coke, and you're, well, not taking coke, but you can fucking see in his face that he's on something.
Okay.
You're like, that he is using vulnerable, he's using vulnerable people to fund a lifestyle so that he can just fly around the world and just do what he wants. This guy isn't like a crusader. He might actually believe his own bullshit by this point.
Possibly.
I mean, I don't, maybe I do doubt it, but I think he probably does believe it. But these people aren't wanting a better life for you. They want a better life for them, and that's it. And as soon as the funding stops, if you think that these people will be fucking wrapping themselves in an English flag and going out and actually fighting the fight, you're an idiot. You're actually a fucking idiot.
It shows you when you've got your Rees-Moggs and stuff like that, you know, shifting everything to Dublin, and the amount of companies that are now like up in sticks and buggering off, you know what I mean? Where London was the financial capital of Europe, blah, 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 and they're all just like, no, right, okay, see you later. You know what I mean? It's not about what was ever in anybody's wider interest. It never has been in, well, I can't remember the last time it was in UK politics, you know what I mean? Like, so Tony Blair felt like it.
What is it?
It wasn't.
Like, why would a Jacob Rees-Mogg want Brexit? Is it that he's just trying to advance his own political career because he's a fucking nobody sitting on the back bench?
Yeah.
If you go back 5, 10 years, whatever.
Yeah.
He's a nobody. He's sitting in the back bench and he's
sniping.
His nice voice that people, I don't know if that makes people feel good about themselves.
I think it certainly makes a certain type of person,
like a school teacher,
quite deferential. You know what I mean? I don't
talking
know why.
down to you like a fucking idiot. But what have they got to gain for this?
Money. I think there is dual purpose. I think there's people that, like Theresa May, for example, who have seen a gap, an opportunity to progress themselves to where they want to be, and have jumped at it. You know, obviously Boris Johnson had his go, Michael Gove had his go and failed. Like, you know, there's been various sort of cabinet reshuffles as people have swung and missed at certain things. Like, obviously, hopefully, the next one to go is the Chris Grayling, who is, I think, is the Transport Secretary.
Yep.
And he's the dude that, in the event of a no-deal Brexit, has arranged for ferries to bring supplies into the UK via a company which owns no ferries. So that's the type of level of avarice and sort of stupidity that is in play, and that's definitely about somebody who's like, oh, I'm going to go and take charge of this and this. I'll book these preparations and justify my position. But then on the other side, there is guys, as you say, your Mogs, who are board of directors here, there, and everywhere, who have investments or links to hedge funds. Theresa May's husband, and obviously they're, I think, what is it, medical marijuana businesses, all these types of things that they're involved in, going to massively be benefited by the fact that after Brexit, the people in charge of their companies are also the people who will be writing the rules in the UK.
Right.
So I think there's a dual purpose there. I think some of them are opportunistic. I think some of them are, money motivated, and I think there's probably a core in the middle somewhere that are actually motivated by both. You know what I mean? So, but again, like all these other things, the alt-rights and the globalisation that we've been talking about, and that it's for their benefit. It's not for us, like you say.
Right. I would love to have somebody come on and just sit down and explain to me that the sort of what they have against globalisation. I mean, other than immigration, which is a bit of a sort of red herring in that sense.
I think one of the big sticking points has been how money moves around the world as a result of it. Obviously in Ireland there was the Apple scandal a couple of years ago where Apple had run something like $12 billion through Ireland and paid almost sort of no corporation tax. There's obviously been other examples recently, but it kind of ties in with what we were talking about, Mike, was the Panama Papers. Obviously one of the documentaries I watched recently, while we were just sort of getting downtime in January, was the Panama Papers, and that shows like how money just moves around the world on a constant. It makes it completely untraceable because it bounces here, there, and everywhere, in private accounts, in tax havens all around the world, and it becomes, completely invisible. There's something like $100 trillion they were saying just out of these Panama leaks hidden away. Think about what $100 trillion could do in the world. You know what I mean? But it's all gone. And I think these are the types of guys that are using Brexit. I think especially when it comes to EU legislation about money laundering and sort of tax havens and stuff like that is due to come in the next sort of year or so. And as a result of the Panama leaks and stuff like that. And again, these guys want nothing to do with it. You know what I mean? Because why would they have control of the country, get up to then also pay more tax and be subject to, all the laws and regulations that limit where and how much money they can have? You know what I mean?
I think a lot of it's tied to things like the investigation of HSBC and sort of like drug cartel money, and that, I mean, that's all happened really in the last sort of 8 years. And then these types of things come along.
I mean, HSBC were stinking with dirty money. I mean, like the
pretty much every fucking dirty pound or dollar on the fucking planet was running through their fucking bank. I mean, they're one of the only truly global banks. I mean, they had Mexican drug cartel money, they had Hezbollah money, they had money that was linked to Al Qaeda, money that was linked to ISIS, all running through their bank, and knew about it.
Yeah.
Like emails and everything tracing it, going, they fucking knew about it. So I wonder if that's had a lot to do with it. I'm just
There's
thinking,
contributing factors. There is places where the heat has been turned up on these types of organisational practices. The guys that investigated the Panama Papers was one of the most impressive sort of journalistic organisations that I've seen. Like, it was two German lads got the data, went to an international consortium of journalists and then had, I think it was like 60 journalists in 80 countries working on it for their own safety, so that no one person was exposed and in danger. And then obviously coordinated the releases after like sort of 2 years of writing and researching these to the point, you know, where they were ready to go, and simultaneously launching the stories all around the world all at the one time, so that you couldn't move for talk about the Panama Papers. So I think that's probably one way that people can look to fight these things, is to, like, you know, kind of organise with like-minded people, have an agenda that they stick to, and you know, think about what type of impact they want at the end of it. You know what I mean? Like, because in the world we live in, like, the only thing that hurts these people's now is publicity. You know what I mean? Like, and even then, it's like a rap on the wrist for them, because as much as the Panama Papers made a big stuff, you know, made a big noise, and HSBC made a big noise, and all these types of things, like,
nobody's talking about it.
It's still happening. It's still
Nobody's
happening.
talking about it. I mean, what did HSBC pay? Like $2 billion in fines.
Oh, mental.
£2 billion. And even though these things are like almost like sort of like appetizers, no, like an appeasement for people, because £2 billion to HSBC is literally a fucking drop in the ocean.
Yeah,
it's nothing. And people at the idea of £2 billion so vast, but like that's good, and you're like, no, economies are worth trillions and trillions now. Like, if you think that for 15 MPs that Theresa May just whipped £1 billion out of your arsehole and flung it at the DUP, when for, I mean, how many years? 8 years before, all we've heard about is austerity. The previous Labour government, they left us with nothing. Where did you get this £1 billion for? Where did it come from? Where does the money come from to renew Trident? Where does the money come from to bomb Syria? Where does the money come from for anything that they want to do? It's all there. It's just people need to wake the fuck up. I don't think that, so going back to the sort of yellow vest thing, I don't think that being distracted by some fucking, unfortunately for people like me and you, predominantly white men that are working class, that have been misguided through conspiracy theories, standing on the street shouting for a megaphone at some Swedish tourist, go back to your own country. It's like, it's the opposite of what I want to do. I mean, although I was walking to kickboxing yesterday and seen blue vests on Charing Cross Bridge with like Scotland flags. Waving their Scotland flags at cars going down the M8. I think it was actually, like, as I'd said, I think it was pointed at sort of Rangers fans, because when I went back at 3:15 after the Rangers game had kicked off, they were gone. So I think they're just winding people up. But if there was a movement of people that were that knew a wee bit more about these things and were actually focusing their energy, because the energy's needed, and the heart's in the right place. But the actual message is just completely fucking wrong. It's almost like it's working class people turning on other working class people, which isn't going to get you the desired result, because what these people are wanting is change. I mean, if you strip it down, take away whatever fucking message, these people, if you were to say to them, what is it that you want? I would hope that every one of them, once they get over their bigotry and their racism, they would go, I want a better quality of life. For me, and for people like me, right? So take away the like me
at that level, and
just go to this actual linchpin of, you want a better quality of life. You don't want to be living on benefits. These people feel like within this community, a sort of white supremacist, alt-right, or whatever you want to call it, they find a purpose. They actually wake up in the morning and look at themselves and go, I'm doing something here. And I think this is what people have been missing.
Purpose.
Purpose. We've been in the pursuit of satisfaction through consumerism, and through, if you improve your life, your car, your social stance, that's going to give you satisfaction. And we've hit that brick wall where it's like, it really doesn't. Or on the flip side, I can't actually get to that you're telling me will make me happy, because I don't have any fucking money.
There's no social mobility.
You've backed me into a fucking corner and know what the left way is. It's their fault. It's their fault.
All that's left is the anger that comes along with their failures. No, I mean, I can agree with that.
I think it's going to take for somebody to come along that isn't like that. I hate to say it, but is almost on the level of a Tony Blair or a Barack Obama, but actually fucking delivers on what they promise today, that they actually deliver real change. I've not heard anybody, any politician in this country, maybe no in Scotland and UK-based politics, say anything that I'm like, I really agree with that I don't feel that isn't a fucking soundbite.
I've been quite impressed recently with some of the noises that have come out the Green Party, particularly in Scotland. I think, round about the recent budget and obviously some of the gains they've made in Glasgow City Council. I think there's been a number of things I've heard them recently where I'm like, do you know what, they're actually kind of in a sense the opposite of the DUP in UK terms, where the DUP are dragging the Tories about with the balance of power, almost with Theresa May by the hair, whereas in Scotland the Greens are actually using their influence to genuinely question the government on legitimate issues in terms of cuts and various other sort of things that held the budget up in the first place. So I definitely, that's something that the Greens are relatively new to me in wider terms, something I'd be interested in hearing more about. But
they've got an opportunity with young people, especially when kids are walking out the school on climate change.
And we're also tired of the London light parties. You know what I mean? Like the Scottish Tories and the Labour. And see, to be honest with you, I think Labour are in a tough position because I think there is genuine people within the Labour Party and the Labour movement who are still trying to do good, who are still trying to do good by Labour's actual principles. I think they're maybe a wee bit let down by the leadership in terms of what they can and can't achieve up here. So I don't want to be too down on the Labour Party, but what somebody like me thinks is I'm for independence at the moment, but I'm not necessarily Mr. SNP. And come the time that independence comes, the first thing I'll probably be looking for is an alternative to the SNP. And I think what I've heard in recent years for the Green Party and how they've conducted themselves and how they're just slowly kind of growing their numbers and obviously their representation at various levels. I've been impressed by how they've been tactically, how they've held the government to account. I look forward to them maybe making that type of contribution at a city level in Glasgow Council, because I think there are a lot of challenges in terms of the City Council. I think obviously Whitehill recently, the campaign to save Whitehill was huge and unsuccessful, thankfully, because we need more public sort of swimming spaces around the city. Obviously the Botanic Gardens was a big one. I got into a really interesting conversation with my local MP Paul Sweeney on Twitter on my personal account, and he was just kind of trying to give us a breakdown about cuts. And I know obviously cuts are a wider thing, but I think there maybe is an argument that says the SNP at a governmental level in Scotland maybe have been overly harsh with certain cuts. I don't know if they're trying to make a point or whatever. So I mean, that was an interesting chat, and I think I think the Greens will offer us an alternative that is no pro-unionist when the time comes. So I want to see more like them in terms of parties, more like them in terms of their politicians as well.
My worry with independence in that sense would be that once the SNP achieve pretty much their goal as a political entity and we get independence, would be that so many people would unite behind the Tories that some people voting Labour, some people voting Green, some people voting SNP or whatever that would be, or maybe Lib Dems might dilute the vote, and that the Tories would become the one that stands out.
I mean, there's a massive
especially
movement
in the west of Scotland.
There is a movement within the Labour guys in Scotland for indie. You know what I mean? So
right.
I think there would be hopefully a representation of some sort of Labour movement in Scotland that is free of the shackles of what Westminster's got to say, where they can just concentrate on what's best for the people that they serve. And I think that's the juxtaposition that face a lot of Labour MPs and Labour, councillors and, MSPs and whatever else at the minute, is that they are a unionist party. They might not all necessarily agree that unionism is the best way forward, but they can't be free of that and concentrate properly on how their theory, their ethoses can benefit the people of Scotland on its own, because they're torn between kind of two masters at the minute. You know what I mean?
So that's a really good sort of point, that there'll be people out there that in the Labour movement that want independence but don't feel comfortable enough to really sort of shout about it. Who's the Richard
Leonard,
right? He's not great, is he?
I mean, it's the typical tactics that have been used by the higher end in the Labour Party recently, is to, raise issues that they can bash the SNP with or the Scottish Government in general, but yet they're issues that are reserved by Westminster. And it's like, so you can't have it both ways. Like, you're going to make an argument like Minister Sweeney did with me on Twitter about how here are what the cuts look like and here is why they're disproportionate and blah, blah, blah. That's a legitimate and cohesive argument. But like going, I don't think that we should be doing this when the people you're pointing fingers at have absolutely no control over that is absolute madness. And the Labour higher ups have been doing it in Scotland for a number of years now, and it's contemptuous. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's why there is among some people a level of resentment, because they know that there is times where people in the higher end of the Labour Party are actually patronising them. You know what I mean? And it's always going to turn people off.
Definitely. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I mean, it looks like we're heading towards no deal.
It does.
And it doesn't look like it's going to collapse. So it'll be interesting. I think that it'll be interesting, especially to see what happens in this country.
Yeah.
I mean, yesterday, when we'll put this out, probably put this out pretty soon, BMI, the sort of, the aeroplane or the flight company that fly between Birmingham and pretty much, that's where they're based out of, have collapsed. So they collapsed yesterday. Barclays last week took, 30 trillion out of their bank and dumped it somewhere, probably Ireland. So we're starting to see the reality of Brexit. I think that the common sense, the common sense thing would be a people's vote. But my indie wanting Scotsman in me is kind of like, do you know what? Fuck them.
Why?
If England wants Brexit, give them fucking Brexit, and let's just
think
unilateral declaration of independence and say, we didn't vote for this. We're independent. We want to join back in the EU, and just let the shitstorm happen.
I think in terms of, obviously, the sort of nationalist sort of tactics on this, I've actually been quite impressed by how, like, the SNP at Westminster and at Holyrood level have sort of stayed cohesive and acted together on this. Yep, they want independence. That's an absolute no-brainer. That's their entire goal. We voted against it. They've always maintained that point to a massive, 2-1. We voted against it, and they've always kept that in their rhetoric. But at the same time, they lost the 2014 election, and with 30, 40 MPs at Westminster, they're not going to win that 6% swing to get us over the line next time without contributing positively to the UK while they're a member of the UK. And I think some of the tones about chats with Theresa May, opinions on, the delusion and some of the policy making and stuff like that that's went on, like I think the SNP have been a more effective opposition on Brexit than the Labour Party have been at Westminster in a lot of respects, and they really have tried their absolute best to hold the government to account for the benefit of the entire UK. It's not how a lot of people are going to see it. It's going to be whinging and axe grinding to get independence, and ultimately it is that. But like, why would they not positively want to contribute to the UK while they were a member of it? Because that gap between failure and defeat was pretty small the last time, and if we can convince a fraction of those people by saying, look, we tried our best to stop this train wreck before it happened in everybody's best interests, I think that could go a long way next time to people saying, do you know what, right, let's give this a try. What have we got to lose? You know
do you think Brexit, I mean, other than the Labour leadership's clear hankering for
I don't know what Corbyn's motivation here is at all.
Well, I think that there's people out there that are right in saying that if you look at his voting and his opinion on Europe, he's a Eurosceptic. At the end of the day, he isn't anti-immigration. It's anti-corruption, I think, and he wants a socialist state. So that's not going to work within the centrist EU. It's just they're not going to let it happen. I mean, is there any socialist nations within the EU? I think the closest one's probably France, but Macron is not a fucking socialist. He's an ex-Lehman Brothers banker. You know what I mean? Like, he's a centrist. I mean, they're writing against that. It's almost like I found this funny that the other week when I heard that Vince Cable was breaking away with people like, I think, and Sorbet for the Tories, and they're thinking about creating this new centrist party. And you're like, we're out there, well, we're not, but there's people out there rebelling. Brexit, Trump, Le Pen, Farage, these are all protest votes against the centre.
Yeah.
People don't really like what we're seeing for the centre. It's basically so fucking corrupt. Do you know what I mean? It's so indoctrined into that sort of centre ground. I thought that was interesting that they were coming out saying, we're going to form our own central party. And it's like, what is the need? You've already got the Liberal Democrats, who are pretty much a dead central party. I mean, they've died. I don't think that there's an actual fucking need for another sort. I think that's what we were talking about earlier, where it's people like Vince Cable looking and going, I'll be the leader of this central party, and I'll
that's his opportunity.
Here's my political opportunity to come in and say, I am the only major political leader other than Lucas of the Greens, that is campaigning on a pro-European campaign, which I think he would probably win an election, maybe, based on.
I don't know, man.
I think the silent majority in this country is pro-EU.
In Scotland, yeah. In England, I don't know anymore. I mean, the initial vote was so close and fraught with, fraud and various other things that I genuinely don't know what England thinks about it, realistically. But it's... I think we've talked about it in previous episodes when it comes to like the elections and stuff like that. I don't think realistically a new centrist party, I mean, they would get trounced up and down the country because of first past the post. Like, first past the post is almost exclusively designed to quell any sort of third party really for sort of taking hold. Like, I mean, they would need a massive, like almost bottomless money pit to like overtake like the Tories and Labour in their strongholds, and that's where you would need to win an election. You know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't be about swings going one way or another. You'd need three axes for that type of conversation. You know what I mean? Like, and the system's just set up to completely negate that. You know what I mean? Like, that's why the Lib Dems have what's the top two to like 40 MPs. You know what I mean? Like, even when they were at their absolute zenith. You know what I mean? Like, it's why UKIP have never taken hold, and why the Greens have never taken hold in Westminster in any meaningful way, when at their heights in recent years, both have polled north of 25% of the population. So, it's so dispersed and so widespread, that low-level support, that it just can't get it over the line. So even if somebody like a new centrist party or whatever, the Democratic centrists, whatever it is,
the UK version of the Democrats.
Yeah, I mean... It's one of the ones where the effort to get them over the line before Brexit completely fucks us all would need to be like superhuman.
I think it would probably be post-Brexit. Surely it would be.
When people see how shit it is and want to react against it, all bets are off. Who knows? You know what I mean?
How ironic it will be if we need to go back to the EU and beg to get, and then it will be, you're taking the euro.
Please, sir, can I have some?
Surely they would be like, you can get fucked if you're not taking the euro, and it'll just...
They should roll them out of a barrel, to be fair. I don't know, man. I think had Theresa May put her red lines down about, freedom of movement and things like that, I think the noises for, Europe have been that they've done a deal, that, see if it just been customs union and freedom of movement, they'd have been fine. You know what I mean? But she put these red lines in.
These are the red lines that
created the backstop issues in Ireland as a result.
These are the issues that the Tory backbenchers that actually want. I mean, it's not about the money gone to the EU. It is about the
There's an ideology, aye.
Yeah, and I mean, if you listen to what some of the stuff that people like Mog are saying is the 50 years recovery and stuff like that. I mean, we will become I fear that the UK will become basically a slave labour market tax haven post-Brexit, where no minimum wage.
Yep.
They'll reindustrialise in the sense that they'll be opening fucking whatever factories, but with people making next to nothing for their labour. That's what I genuinely think it's about. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of globalisation, and for the reasons that you had cited, like how easy it is to... It's not even globalisation, do you know what? Fuck that, because it isn't that, it's the corruption that's involved. Like, we need to get away from it's the EU, like, or we should be rebelling against one world government. Why should we not have one tax code for the full planet so that we can't have tax havens? Why should we not have one currency so that we don't need to be getting into this idiotic fucking market that dictates whether or not the pound's down against the dollar and blah blah blah? It's all just fucking bullshit. It's because underneath the actual
completely fictitious.
Yeah, underneath the digital and the paper currency that we trade in, what is actually being traded is resources.
Well, in terms of aye.
And they all trade on the dollar, the euro, or the yen, or the ruble. None of them trade in the fucking pound. So what is the pound versus the dollar? It's just all fucking bullshit to keep you just thinking about different things rather than being able to see the actual
people moving
problem.
fractions about screens on computers and saying that it's money.
Exactly. So,
You know what I mean?
like, I'm no anti-globalist in the sense that I don't want people coming here or I don't want to be able to go elsewhere. I don't really give a shit about that. I think that we could be doing a better job to integrate people if they want to come here and different things, and that's a different sort of thing. But I'm not really anti-globalist, and I wouldn't even be against if somebody said in 100 years we'll have one government and I wouldn't really be afraid of that. But what I am afraid is the level of corruption that exists within the political and how it's all intertwined. That the business, the private sector and the public sector are just blurred. The lines are completely blurred beyond all recognition, and we need to get back some sort of level of control. So I'm with you that it's like a problem that hasn't been created. It exists, but we're focused completely on the wrong things when it comes to things like Brexit and Trump, and it isn't the right solution.
Aye. I mean, look at, in terms of wrong solutions in Trump, obviously his national emergency that he's called, which is kind of harking back on some of the points we made in the first the Rebel City shots about the American Supreme Court, and why we've got a pure instant massive example of why that decision was so important. So Trump's obviously called he's had the shutdown, longest shutdown in American government history, 800,000 federal workers without wages for nearly 4 weeks, getting letters for the government saying, we know you're not getting any money they know, but why don't you go and chat your landlords door and see if you can get any painting for them by so like barter. So Trump actually brought back the barter system in America, so he did for federal employees.
Wow.
So obviously get that out of the way. Said I'm going to sign the government on for another 21 days so that he could do State of the Union and go out and puff his chest out and talk a lot of shit for again an hour or so of just absolute nonsense. And one of which he actually claimed like credit for the record number of women in Congress. So obviously women all across America stood up against Trump. They all showed up to the State of the Union in white, and in his own speech he essentially took credit for them, and he's just like,
he's trolling.
Wow,
he's trolling like fuck. But then he's got Nancy Pelosi, is that who says something? Standing behind him, getting a standing ovation.
But that's like the pomp and ceremony that you get in the UK with like Black Rod and all that.
Have you seen the episode of South Park where they have the royal wedding and like the royal, as is tradition? So it's like that. But you need to. That's the type. These are the types of things, the corruption and the institutionalisation that we need to get rid of. That she needs to stand and protest.
Pure wank.
Exactly, and protest against them. But she can't do it because it's like
she's there as a bearer of her office rather than her political party at that point in time.
Exactly.
So government's opened back up. People are moving again. He gets today's photo call at the State of the Union and try and scare everybody into submission again. And then comes straight out and calls a national emergency. Now, the national emergencies, the legislation is extremely vague because they deliberately left it like that because they couldn't anticipate every potential national emergency that they would face, whether it be hurricanes or 9/11 or whatever. These are the types of levels of situation that in a national emergency is called for. He's now called for it in relation to immigration and border security. And it was because during the shutdown, he was asking for $5.7 billion to build this wall. And they all went, well, what's the $5.7 billion for? And he was like, don't worry about it. So it was an uncosted 5.7 billion he was asking for, which in Trump land is just going to evaporate. You know what I mean?
Do you think that they could build a wall that would span the southern border of America for $5 billion?
Something like north of 60% of Americans' illegal contraband coming in and out of the country does it through legitimate ports. Like, building a wall makes no difference to this. Like, the Mexicans, like Chapo, who was convicted in a New York court during the week, was building tunnels for Juarez to bloody, New Mexico. And it was not going to stop them building a tunnel. So 5.7 5.7 billion uncosted, and the government shut it down. You've got 21 days to agree something else. I'm going to shut the government down again. This time he's called this national emergency, and it's weird because can you guess who are the final arbiter of what a national emergency is? The US Supreme Court.
Right. So this
he's
shows
now
you
got a
why
5-4 majority on the US Supreme Court, with 2 of them being his picks. So when it comes to the crunch, it's going to be. By no definition in the law does the current situation meet a national emergency.
Yeah.
It's like a massive overreach, and is almost a kind of step towards totalitarianism in America.
Yeah.
The level of power. So, and that 5.7 is now 8 billion. So he's now looking to take $8 billion for his wall uncosted because he personally thinks it's an emergency.
Did it not cost them nearly $1 billion to make the fucking samples? Like the 6 samples that sit.
Aye.
There's like
couple $100 million.
Aye. So to think like even 8 is like that's going to be like the America's version of the fucking Edinburgh tram system, where it's like
they're building it forever.
There'll
And
be
it just
like
causes one scandal after another.
There'll be 4 presidents deep, and they'll go, "It's finally done." And it's like, how much did it cost us? $2 trillion. Do you know what I mean? Like, but it's there, and then within 100 years, it'll be fucking knocked down. They'll be like, we need to get rid of this.
And I love his,
wall,
when he's announcing it, walls work, and like
the Berlin Wall didn't fucking work, mate. So
like when
did it work? Did it work in Northern Ireland? No. Did it work in Germany? No.
That's like, the only time I've seen it ever work was watching that Matt Damon movie recently, The Great Wall of China, and that was a completely fictitious monster movie. I mean, like, but they don't really work in that respect, especially when, as I say, so much is coming through legal and legitimate channels. You know what I mean? Like,
what did you think about the? We spoke about this briefly, and I didn't really understand much about it. But I do have a better grasp of what the Supreme Court is and how it can affect, and it's basically like the writer of laws in America.
Yeah,
that's how you get your laws passed. What did you think about the smear campaign against Kavanaugh? Because, I mean, it's pretty much come out that not all the women that cried rape, but at least one of them was talking absolute fucking shite.
Aye.
So, I was reading something about it the other week, and I was thinking, when you look at everything that this guy stood for, like he wants to rescind, is it Roe v. Wade?
Yeah, abortion, gay rights, and various other. He's going to
with all these things that this guy stands for, and all the evidence and the information and that's on him about what he believes in. Why did the American left, which I mean, I would put that under air quotes, left, because there is no fucking left in America. Probably poor Bernie Sanders is like an outlier, and then people like Cortez that are starting to actually get in, which is promising. But the American left felt that they had to smear this guy in a way that was so shocking that it was almost unbelievable. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? That it sort of, instead of just coming out and saying to people, and having the confidence that the electorate would be able to just go, look at what this guy stands for, and just be honest with people and go, we don't want this guy in because of X, Y, and Z.
It's because they didn't have the bodies to stop it. Like, the Democrats have recently taken control of Congress, like the lower house in America, in January, but the Kavanaugh was November.
Previous to that.
So they were ramming him through as quickly as possible because they feared that they were going to lose the Senate, because it's ultimately the Senate, like our equivalent of the House of Lords.
So people don't even have a choice.
No. So the Senate confirms. Right, okay. So the president nominates somebody to office. It's confirmed by the Senate. Now, the Republicans expanded their hold of the Senate in the last elections. So Trump can pretty much nominate whoever the fuck he likes between now and whenever he's out, and it's probably going to go through. The good thing is that now, after the turn of the year with the Democrats in charge of the lower house, that all sorts of investigations can now, because that's the investigative arm of the American government.
Okay, so that's why there's people being indicted and like since January.
So guys like Kamala Harris have been taking them to bits, and like I think it's been interesting to see guys like Kamala Harris, and you know the guy Corey announced their candidacy for Democratic nominee. There's a lot of kind of like also runs, so it's 2 years away. There's already been like north of 20 people have declared. Some of them, I mean, she's looking up. One was an ex kind of right wing nutter. She's now a left Democrat, but like she's got a history of like transgenders and gays and everything along every horrible thing you could think that, you know, goes on in this world that causes that outrage we've talked about. She'd said at previous points and has had to come out, and she did like an apology video as part of her launch for Hawaii.
Right, aye. I was going to say she's the member of Congress for Hawaii or whatever. Yep, I've watched that.
So she's declared. So it's interesting to see how close she's going to get to a Democratic ticket, which is probably almost nowhere near. But there's a few like serious candidates. Like I'm a big fan of Kamala Harris. I think Elizabeth Warren is going to get slapped about senseless exactly the same way as Clinton did. The irony is that she's arguably the most capable of the ones that have announced, but because of the whole Pocahontas chat, Trump's just going to decimate her.
Yeah, so this is the one that she had said that she was Native American, and it turned out that she had about as much Native American blood in her as I've got fucking like Zimbabwean.
But she also put
0.1%.
She also put it on a college application form when she was younger.
Right.
But this is at a time when, see, we didn't have DNA tests and we didn't have all that kind of stuff. And see if you grew up and your dad was pure, so we're Irish, you'd be like, cool, so I'm part Irish. You know what I mean? Like that, a lot of that went on in Glasgow.
Fuck it. I mean, I remember, I think my bubble got burst at like 13 when I was talking to somebody in school, and I'd said to her, like, my mum's family's got a direct link to the O'Neills, the Irish got the last king of Ireland.
Yeah.
And she was basically like, "Oh, my dad's telling me the same thing," and it turned out, that pretty much like, and I'm not saying that my mum definitely didn't come up with this.
Yeah.
Like, it's been passed down.
That's what you're saying. Like the Elizabeth Warren one, somebody's told somebody who's told somebody, and it's passed generationally until somebody then questions it. But
until we get to the technological point where we can take a bit of your blood and go, here's exactly where you came from. And you go,
he's going to just use that to grind her to dust.
Yeah.
So as in the exact same way as emails and lock her up and all the rest of it, he's already dealt with Warren before she's even started running.
Do you think Clinton would have the audacity to try and run again?
Yeah.
I don't doubt it.
She shouldn't. She absolutely should not. But I think there's somewhere, if she does a book run anytime soon, you know, where she's out touring books, then she's running.
Surely
that's the telltale sign in America is that you do a book tour roughly 18 months to a year before a nomination, and that's you kind of signalling your intent.
Surely the leaders of the Democrats have got to know that that's...
Tell her to sit down.
That it's just not going to happen. I mean,
it was viable after Obama because she was still in office. Like, she lost to Obama, but then went into a really high power... She was Secretary of State.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's second in charge, essentially, you know, in a lot of respects.
Have you ever seen it's slightly off topic, but it was something that I'd heard mentioned the other day, and then I went and looked at it. You ever seen the video where saying that we should just drone strike Julian Assange in England?
No.
There's a video where, it was audio that I heard. It was audio that I heard, and they're talking about Assange, and it would have been the time when he took into the Colombian embassy or Ecuadorian embassy in London, and she was saying, well, we know where he is, so why don't we just drone strike him? And you're like, that kind of sums it up.
I can believe her say that. I can believe that, definitely. But I like Kamala Harris. She was one of the ones that did a lot of the sort of cross-examination of Kavanaugh and like skewered him like multiple times. Like, she's feisty, she's sharp, she's a woman of colour. She ticks a lot of boxes in sort of democratic terms. She's quite young in the grand scheme of, you know, politics for these types of things. There's a fella, Corey, I can't remember his second name now. It might be, but he lives in he's the only congressman that lives in like low like in a impoverished area.
Right.
Still lives in his local community on a
Right.
day-to-day
Maybe
basis.
his family home or something like that.
And makes a big deal about being, of his roots, of his hometown. And he's a sharp guy. I've seen him on a number of committees. He's quite popular on things like the Daily Show and stuff like that. He's quite charismatic. So he's quite a good-looking guy as well, and obviously quite sellable in that respect. You know what I mean? Like,
going to hold my tongue and not talk about Andrew Lee, because obviously, but we're going to have the universal basic income chat again, and I don't really want to talk about it because it will be a really good point. And some of the costings that this guy cited on Joe Rogan's podcast are mind-blowingly small when you take into account some of the stuff that would just leave if you gave it. So he's campaigning on $1,000 a month for every American. And it will be very, very interesting to see how far he gets. I mean, I don't see there being an actual appetite for a UBI candidate right now.
Yeah.
But maybe in 2024.
The machinery of two-party politics in America is very similar to the machinery of two-party politics in the UK. So it's
I don't think he's running independent. I think he's wanting to run for the Democrats.
Oh, right, okay.
I think he's going to do what Trump's done with the Republicans. Punched my fucking mic.
Did you make it what the Starbucks did?
Trying getting himself in and steal their ticket, basically. So what's this?
So the co-owner or founder of Starbucks is talking about potentially running.
Oh, fuck off.
It's going to be like Trump 2.0, but I think he's trying to pitch himself as
like the Democratic version?
A more liberal outsider sort of thing.
Right.
What he's about to do is
probably plenty of them. I mean,
probably take all the tax that Starbucks hasn't been paying and hide it in America instead of somewhere else. You know what I mean? What?
There's been a lot of sort of chat of Michelle Obama, Oprah Winfrey. There's a lot of people on the left are almost in America like scrambling for their Trump-like messiah that's going to just come in and just wipe the floor. But unfortunately, you can't be progressive and liberal and basically just smack talk people the way Trump did. It just won't work. And that is, I hope, is something
what we need somebody assured, confident in themselves, articulate and intelligent, who will go toe-to-toe with Trump in a debate and make him look and sound like the wee boy, the stupid fucking wee boy that he is. And Clinton could never do that. I think somebody like, if you look at the Kavanaugh hearings, Kamala Harris, I'd love to see fucking Kamala Harris go up and debate Donald Trump in a televised debate. I think she would fucking tear strips off him. So she would. And it's a big thing in America. It's not really been a big thing here, the televised debates, because they're all just fucking pre-recorded sound bites that were spat out on command. You know what I mean? And American ones can sometimes be like that, but with Trump in the mix, you know what I mean? There's a chance to like actually have some back and forth, but like Clinton bottled it. You know what I mean?
100%.
Somebody like Trump in a debate, you go for the jugular.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I heard somebody say that she lost that election. He didn't win it, she lost it. I mean, if you look at even just the swing states, the amount of time that Trump put in going to these places and speaking to people, he was doing like 3 places a day.
Yeah.
She was too busy doing fuck all, basically being a politician, I think, like an American politician.
Places like Nevada, where, you know, there's X amount electoral votes, I don't know, I can't remember. But like, wasn't it exactly like a pure hotspot for like political visits over previous elections? But Trump went there like multiple times, and people were like, why the fuck's he going to Nevada? Why does he keep going to Nevada? Why does he keep going to these places where like they don't have a lot of electoral votes? You know what I mean? Electoral college seats and stuff like that. But then you're like, it's the electoral college that won him it. So going to these wee shitty places that, I know Nevada's not a wee shitty place, but going to these places that aren't traditionally, you know, the hubs of the political world in America was massively beneficial to him. You know what I mean? Like, because he motivated the people to get out for him and essentially swing him the election, even though he lost by 3 million votes. You know what I mean?
American politics is just, it's a strange and wonderful beast to me, like, especially if you can lose an election. I mean, that's been 2 of the last 4. And George Bush lost to
Al
Gore, and Trump lost to Clinton. So
it's kind of one of the things I'm talking about with the blog, is a kind of article called, you know, kind of like you don't live in a democracy, and looking at, you know, some examples of, you know, the George Bush, Al Gore election, you know, Trump, election fraud in the UK. There's obviously been multiple accusations of, election fraud at both general election, Brexit and beyond, where even convictions, and this is what we're talking about, like HSBC earlier on, where crime and punishment don't always necessarily fit each other, and that erodes people's confidence in the institutions. Like, people in the Tory party have been actively convicted of election fraud by the Election Commission, fines 70 grand. So you steal an election for a 70 grand fine.
That's ridiculous.
You know what I mean? So that's where this erosion of people's confidence in institutions comes from.
They're going to work it into their budget for their next elections the same way the banks work in fucking PPI claims into their next projections. Just like, we'll just cheat and we'll just pay the 70. We'll be 70, it'll be 100 grand next time. That's fine.
Cool. That's that. Rap on the knuckles. So that's kind of one of the things we were talking, earlier on in the episodes about the bloggers I'm working on, is that I'm really looking to kind of shatter some people's illusions of what democracy actually means, because we actively don't live in one as far as I'm concerned. Like, Scotland's democratic will is not represented at a Westminster level. Like, the UK system forbids, as we've discussed already, any real change in that. The Scottish system was set up to hobble nationalist majorities, which obviously it has done recently. Where do these fit with democratic principles? You know what I mean? Like, does losing an election by 3 million votes count as a democratic result? You know what I mean? What's going on in Venezuela?
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Sake,
where an admittedly bad guy got elected, but the American government's just went, nah, fuck that, man. We want this dude. Yeah. And everybody's went, aye, cool. You're like, what the fuck's democratic about that?
The world has done that.
Aye.
Venezuela certainly haven't fucking done that. There's something about, I was reading something about the Bank of England's holding like 1.9 trillion in Venezuelan gold and refusing to get back to Venezuela based on this election result. So if you want to talk about like democracy,
aye,
we especially when it comes to Brexit, we are talking about it's anti-democratic. It's anti-democratic to give people a choice when the people of Venezuela voted for somebody legitimately, according to your data.
Possibly,
but according to the narrative, they've elected this guy. And our bank, why does our bank have the power to withhold $1 trillion worth of gold when that country is in fucking dire straits and the people that live there are fucking starving and all sorts of shit, man? That is the type of thing. If you want to talk about anti-globalization, that is the type of corruption that's driving this anti-globalist narrative. That is our bank. These are the people that are going to be in charge of this country when we leave the global stage, when we take a step back. It's got a pure
heavy-lift and new world order about it.
Oh, fucking right, it does. Absolutely. And if you think that Trump is the protest vote, Brexit and England is the protest vote, just look at what's going on in Venezuela.
Aye.
Do you know what I mean? Not that the EU is any better. I mean, if you look at what went on in Catalonia, what's happened in Greece and Portugal and places like that.
Catalonia is another one of the examples I was looking at in terms of researching the article as well, because how many times do the people of Catalonia need to actually say we want to be free of Spain? And they face that kind of similar restriction in that, a lot of Spanish trade comes through Barcelona. You know what I mean? Like, it's a massive industrial hub for Spain.
Yeah, that's why they need it.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, why they won't let it go.
So how many times do they democratically need to express their will to be free before Spain stops sending police officers and, crash helmets and nightsticks? It's, what's democratic about that? You know what I mean? Like, so there's a number of like really sort of current and recent examples that I've been playing about with, and I'm looking forward. It's kind of grown arms and legs a wee bit though, because it started off as an idea for one of our shorts, but it's now it gets bigger every time I think about it. So
should maybe just think about a guest and just do like a night, like a good research podcast on democracy, the illusion of democracy. I don't know who would be good to talk about that, but I suppose we can have a wee think about that. But I would do well. I mean, I know very little other than the shocking examples that we're talking about where you're like, that isn't very fucking democratic, is it? And I would love to sit down and have a conversation with people about it and see what they think about it.
Cool.
Did you watch the Fyre Festival documentary?
Aye. Thankfully, I didn't have to suck anybody's dick for this water.
Well, how do you feel about this sort of prevalent thing that's happening just now? And it's creeped its head round with people like the Kardashians and the Jenners, where they're basically selling shit to people for like loads of money.
Absolutely.
And they're selling the idea. It's like the idea of their life. Have a taste of your lifestyle.
Yep.
And then when you get whatever it is that you fucking bought, some sort of face cream, you realise that it's just fucking moisturiser with somebody's fucking face slapped on it. But there was, I've heard people come from both sides of the argument and saying that, because basically if people haven't watched it in the Fyre Festival, there was the top 10 or 20 models on the planet were taken to the Caymans and Norman's Cay.
Allegedly, Pablo Escobar's island.
Norman's Cay was, if you've seen the movie Blow, it was the George Young's business partner had separated. He needed somewhere to land and refuel to be able to get single engine Cessnas for Pablo Escobar's compound in Colombia to Florida, Florida Keys or whatever it is, and it was Norman's Cay, and it was basically a small piece of land where unstripped and fuck all else. And these guys, one of them being Ja Rule, which it's like, right, okay, it's Ja Rule, it's strange. They wanted to take Blink 182 all people to do this festival, but the way that they sold it to people is that this is what the festival's going to be like, and they spent these 2 or 3 days in this tropical environment that wasn't in Norman's Cay for a start.
It was a 2-day party, wasn't it?
Well, they just went and get fucked up with some models. But the point of discussion is this thing about the models posted the orange Instagram post to say, I'm going to be going to the Fyre Festival, and people started to buy the tickets based on the fact that Natalie Ratajkowski and Emily Ratajkowski, and that these models were going to be there, and that they were thinking that this. I mean, there was a guy that went to that paid $350,000.
No, this was
to go and stay in a hurricane disaster tent in the middle of fucking tropical environments with no lights, no toilets. But I mean, other than that was hilarious. Before I like ask my question, there was the only positive review that exists online is a guy that won the tickets in a raffle, and he said that he thought it was hilarious watching rich kids run about trying to grab soaking wet fucking mattresses to get them into. It's basically the Lord of the fucking Flies.
It was an absolute rammy.
But how do you feel about the responsibility? So I've worked in sales, and as a working class person working in a shop, if I've sold somebody something, it turns out to be not what I tell them that it is, I could potentially be sacked.
Yeah.
And also in my contract, there's a sort of personal liability thing that happens, that if the company loses money based on
your mistakes,
my mistakes, I'm libelous for them.
Okay.
Do you think that people like supermodels and the Kardashians that basically don't try and test products or use them themselves, but then sell them to young kids, because that's who's buying these fucking things, based on like, this is what I use, here's the diarrhea shake that I use, and it's like, right, so that got you the millions of dollars that you've clearly spent fucking slicing your body and getting your body to look like that. Do you think that they should be sort of personally liable for these things? Or
I think to a degree. I think obviously we've seen it, pretty recently. We talked about it on one of the Shank with KP about Gwyneth Paltrow's vag egg, and there is more and more it happening. I think we touched on DJ Khaled like filling his cereal bowl with Ciroc, and it was like people were pure. I didn't realise it was an advert. Like, you're a fucking idiot. Like, if you didn't realise that was an advert. But yeah, I think there has to be more openness in the advertising, and I think, I don't know, it's hard to like hold a salesman responsible for the failure in a product or in an event. For me, they were there, as you say, 2 years beforehand. They're paid X amount £1,000 to show up and look pretty, and that's what they did. Obviously, they were involved in posting the orange tag and got involved in the marketing, but for then on in, it's not really their fault that this clown couldn't fucking build a festival. You know what I mean? Like, this guy sold an image, an idea to them that they bought into for a year later to realise it was a fucking disaster. So I think there's a lot goes on in between those two things to be like, right, you probably should have done more due diligence to realise this guy was a con man. You should never really actively try and promote anything that's harmful to anybody, which I don't think they did. And what happened between them taking their money and having their weekend in the Caribbean and then 10,000 people showing up on an island that was built for 2,000 people. You know, there's only so much I could personally hold them responsible for, but there are other examples, as you say, where people definitely need to be more clear about the fact that they're advertising, and if they are actually advocating for a product, particularly like health and beauty stuff that's aimed at younger kids, probably would be useful if they did actually make use of these products themselves so that they can actively advocate for them.
I think,
you know what I mean? Like,
things like the Fyre Festival shone a light on it. I think that shone a light on it because it was kind of shocking what happened when the people got there, and it was widely... But it kind of shone a light on that, a different thing, because for all that, yep, you're right, these people were paid to go to that island and have a party, essentially.
Yeah.
And then the guy said to them, as part of your payment, you need to do this Instagram post on this date. Then he basically said that anybody that's posted this will be there, which pretty much to a person in the documentary, they were like, I never knew that that's why I was posting this. And I think a couple of them probably don't even have control of their own Instagram accounts, right? So that's... But what it did shine a light on is people like Beckham, for instance, that is asked to sell Herbalife. Not only does he do that, but invests in the company and he gets them to sponsor the LA Galaxy. Now, Herbalife is a toxic fucking protein shake. Does he use it? That's the point that gets to
Ronaldo
me.
as well, isn't he?
Ronaldo's in Herbalife, yep. That's the and then you get there was the Kylie Jenner advent calendar. It was like 240 quid. It was a makeup. It was like a makeup advent calendar. So it was 10 quid per day. And when you opened the advent calendar, it was like pound shop
makeup
that was coming out. But they had put it on the internet as in like, we'll be using this, and it's the products that we use, and it gives you like a sample size of like the products that, which would be clearly be expensive products. I think when it gets to that level, I know now they've said you need to put in the post ad. This is an ad, but I don't think that the young people, that these influencers, like we call them social media influencers, the people that they're influencing isn't me and you.
No,
I mean, there'll be a certain amount of middle-aged, I would consider myself middle-aged, but people 30 and over that will get sucked into it because in the pursuit.
I think they call them millennials.
Technically, we're millennials.
I know, but it's a term I hate in relation to myself. I'm on the other side. I think you've kind of approached it for that kind of positive mindset point of view that you like to approach things, and we've discussed in the past. And I think for me, this is one of these sort of scenarios, particularly with the Fyre side of things, that, and to an extent, you know, the selling of, you know, advent calendars or whatever the fuck it happens to be, where my cynicism kind of grips me a wee bit more. When I watched the Fyre documentary, I was like gobsmacked by how long this dude in the middle of it all managed to string everybody along. Like, he had just this thing about him that people just followed what he wanted for them. And that was kind of weird because they were all sitting going, no, like, we knew this was going to be a fucking disaster, but he told us to keep going, so we just kept going.
Because it was, they were on the payroll. Pretty much to
the extent where one of these guys, when, you know, water bottles didn't show up, had to go and, like, fucking suck the dick of, like, customs official.
Nearly.
Offer to suck a dick of a customs official for, you know, 500,000 bottles of water or whatever the fuck it was they'd ordered, or, you know, an iron container. And I'm like, I wonder what about that guy inspired that level of loyalty. And I don't think it was just the money. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think you need to win an absolute fuck ton of money to go and suck somebody off for, you know, a cargo container full of bottles of Evian. You know what I mean? Like, there's a line there somewhere, surely. But, like, everybody else kind of went along with it as well. So when you look at the, you know, the people who bought tickets and they've paid, you know, $3,000-$4,000 for tickets and travel and accommodation and blah, blah, blah. The thing's a fucking money pit. A couple of weeks beforehand, they get an email going, by the way, you won't be able to use any real money on the island, so deposit any money you want to use on these accounts, and we'll then give you cards and tokens and all the rest of it when you get here. And some of them were loading up like pure, they were saying, if you want to do this type of thing, we would recommend $5,000. If you want to do this type of thing, we would recommend $10,000. And what they were using that money for was to build the fit. So people are depositing this money on cards, and you're like, that's a confidence scam that is now across thousands and thousands of people, that this dude is just on the middle going, that'll be cool. And everybody's like, that'll be cool. You know what I mean? Like, they're showing pictures. There was websites up against it going, this is a building site. Like, whilst people were actively loading thousands upon thousands of dollars into this guy's company to finish this building site. You know what I mean? Like, the whole thing was like,
might have been a
wild.
nice argument to just tell them to fucking stay there. Like,
and see, to be honest with you,
Darwin
see
style.
all the people that bought in, I've got absolutely no sympathy for them. And this is where my cynicism comes in, is that, like, see if you, I mean, there's the ginger haired boy that was on it, I can't remember his name now, and he's going, I mean, I was going to meet models, and you're like, dude, you're a fucking grown up. Like, what the fuck? Like, standing next to some models on a beach was enough for you to part with like $15,000. Like, you're a fucking nugget and you deserve this. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't, like, and somebody's like, oh, I bought this £250 advent calendar because some fucking Kardashian said that I needed to. Like, see if you then get like fucking 99p worth of facial wipes at a fucking pound stretcher, hell mend you. You know what I mean?
I think that, yeah, you're bang on. Like, I had very little sympathy for the people that parted with. I mean, if you've got $5,000 to take to a fucking music festival, then it's like, if you've got that amount of disposable, I mean, a lot of them were sort of like rich kids, just spending their parents' money. So in that sense, I've got little sympathy. With the Jenner thing, it was more parents buying them for children, and then the children being disappointed.
Definitely.
I think it's there's a whole sort of thing happening just now online where we need to realise that almost every single person that's put in front of us online is a potential salesperson.
Yeah.
A potential salesman. We don't quite realise that yet. We still don't really. We don't quite grasp. I mean, there's been, we've spoke about this before as well, there's been loads of examples of people out there that are basically saying that I'm a coach. It's like, I'm an online coach, and if you pay me £500, let's...
Yeah.
And it's kind of like extortion to a certain extent. And
Aye.
I think that especially when you are a multi-millionaire and potentially even approaching the sort of billionaire status that these people like the Kardashians do, they should 100% be held to account for that.
In that respect,
because it's mis-selling. It is blatant mis-selling. The Fyre example that's basically just created the question around it. But I think we should be skeptical about absolutely everything that we see getting sold to us online.
I think in social media at this point, you absolutely need to be. I mean, I think it's maybe one of these things that I don't know if the generation below us are getting taught it. You know what I mean? Like, with critical thinking. We were taught to think critically at school. I don't know that I see a lot of evidence yet when we talk about these types of things, because, you know, I don't know what somebody needs today in some of these scenarios for you not to realise, you know, that they're selling something when, you know, the latest Neymar comes out with the latest pair of football boots on, like, he's advertising, you know what I mean? Like, because people are going to go, fuck, I want that, you know what I mean? Like, it's been all the way back to, you know, Michael Jackson doing Pepsi commercials and whatever else happens to be, you know, corporate spokesmanship. Like, it has been everywhere for a long time, so it has evolved, but for me, it's still the same thing it's always been. And if somebody famous is sitting with something that they're talking to you about or wearing or making the centre of, you know, attention and whatever they're doing at that point in time, I think it's something we also have a responsibility to be wise to. You know what I mean? Like, without having to put it up in neon lights. This is an advert in case you're a fucking idiot. You know, like, which is okay.
That was going to be
these nuts may contain nuts.
Yeah,
I mean, what?
When you look at a packet of peanuts and it's about this product may contain nuts, you know that we're living in a world of people that can't think for themselves. That was going to be my sort of next sort of ask, was how much personal responsibility do people need to take for this? I know that there's a difference in this, that when I think about that type of thing and how I'm sold to, I think about when I went and seen bands and I'd be like, I want to play that guitar. But that's practical because I can hear that and I'm like, that sounds amazing and he looks great with that guitar and that's why I want that.
Yeah.
Whereas you're not really getting... Well, that's where the lie occurs, is when somebody says, this is the makeup that I'm using. It's like the Cheryl Cole thing that happened years ago where she did a L'Oreal advert and it turned out that she had hair extensions in when she did the L'Oreal advert, and you're like, well, that's not your real hair.
Aye, it's a bit cheeky.
You're selling a product based swooning your hair going,
Aye.
look how great my hair looks.
What you're selling is your personality, not your hair.
Exactly.
I think in the world we live in, like, responsibility is a big thing. Like, look at the Fyre example we were using. There were multiple websites up well in advance of that had pictures, had documentation that it was going to be a complete disaster. Now, the people that put tens of thousands of dollars into it, and then were like pure, oh my God, this is like, that information was there. People were actively telling you this was going to happen weeks, sometimes months in advance of what actually went down. So you probably do, in a certain respect, have a level of responsibility to be like, I've bought tickets to this, what's actually going on with it, especially when there's rumours. But again, we take it down to like an everyday level. Like, when we're buying stuff now, the information's there. Like, you look at your Amazon and your Google Shopping and all the various other bits and bobs that you can go in. There's review sections. There's, you can look at star ratings. There's, the in-depth reviews by everybody on almost everything. You know what I mean? Like, so I think if you've got doubt or you believe that maybe somebody's been disingenuous in how they're representing themselves nowadays, you can use that responsibility to just look them up. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Find out what the actual script is and then make a decision based on that, rather than just being like, this image on the surface of this was really appealing to me, so I'm in. You know what I mean? Like,
that's exactly what it is. Because if you look at the guy's scam that he did after the Fyre Festival that eventually got him to jail, he was selling tickets to events that don't sell tickets.
Yeah.
So like, he was selling tickets to the Oscars and like Elton John's fucking Chanel Oscar after
party and all this stuff.
People were coming online and publicly outing this company and saying these events don't sell tickets.
Yep.
People still bought them.
Aye.
Because people are so desperate, especially when it's that. I think we had a small conversation about this. People don't give a fuck about money anymore. It isn't about the money. Money's a facilitator for people.
Yeah.
It facilitates exactly what you were saying with the guy that spent $3,000 because he was like, I'm going to get to stand next to a model. We now live in a planet where you can pay to go to a runway and go into a private jet and take a selfie for your Instagram to make it like you're, and then that doesn't even just count for the normal people that have got the fucking money to waste on that. See if you're going to do that.
Dave for Bishop Briggs on his private jet.
Exactly. See if you're going to do that. Do me a favour and just put it into my fucking PayPal. I'll spend that money way better than what you will. You're fucking idiot. But
it was like £500 for a photo shoot.
Then you've got guys like Lil Bow Wow that did the exact same thing. So he tweeted, he put a picture on his Instagram saying, I think he had a gig in New York. I'm on my way to New York. And it was a selfie of him in a private jet. But somebody took a picture of him on like a pure
train,
a flight and coach, flying to New York for LA. So it is all just image. And there's people out there that, and we've spoken about this as a running theme about the social media, the projected life. So these people don't really care about the money aspect or the security, because they've got no concept of having none of that, because they've had their parents just throw money at them for full life, and they've had this privilege, and now they're spending that privilege on trying to make out like they're famous. When the reality of the situation is that you're no famous.
We're all socialites. We're all, men about town now and all that kind of carry on. Like
we all want to be Dan Bilzerian. We all want, that's like the goal, is to become enough money so that you can just go and do what you want, and then
you're a personality.
Yeah, and this is what's kind of worrying to me, that people are willing to part with extreme amounts of money. I mean, like if somebody was to say it's about the experience, you're like, well, going to Glastonbury is like an amazing experience. You can do that for £500.
Yeah.
And you will have 4 days of like seeing great bands. If you really want to meet new people, do all these things that people try and make out that they do online. They're
actually doing online,
socialising, having a good time, partying. Maybe no way Emily Ratajkowski, because she's not going to beat Glastonbury. If she is, she's going to be far away from you. She doesn't want to come anywhere near you.
If she ever comes anywhere near me, she's going to end up taped up in a cupboard. So she is.
But this is the worrying aspect to it, is that there are the legit paths to this feeling that you're trying to get to, but you're being sold a fucking fake version there for an extreme amount of money, and your basis
desert mirage.
your basis on the legitimacy
disappears.
is the cost.
Aye.
That's probably why in these people's heads they're like, this is legit because it's costing me 3,000.
It must be real.
It must be real, exactly,
Aye.
because it's costing me so much money. It's like the more money it costs, the more worried I would
be doing, but that's maybe the difference between the privilege that these people have faced in their life to this point versus the reality and no hardship that we've faced, but the real life experiences that we've had. Is that if I was spending 3-4 grand on something, I'd be like, especially if it was like a weekend away, I'd be like, I want confirmations, I want certificates and ABTA and all the other, things. I'd be like, let's make sure that this is money well spent. You know what I mean? Instead of just spent money. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and I think I'd be wanting to make sure that I'm going to see somebody better than Blink-182 and Ja Rule for 3 grand. I'd be wanting to see the fucking Rolling Stones.
I was a bit gutted as well. I don't necessarily dislike Blink-182. I've liked a number of their songs. I think they put on a bit of a show live for what I hear. I listened to a live album once and it sounded as though they were having fun. But they were like, oh, we're pulling out because we can't put on the show that we want. And like, there was Blink-182 fans still going. Mm-hmm. And you're like, so these guys booked up for you. You're now not going because you can't put on the show that you want. And this is where the responsibility of the seller maybe does come in this instance, is that they should have said, by the way, see if you're a Blink-182 fan, we've seen this gaff and it's a fucking shambles. Like, don't go.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what you should have said to your fans. You shouldn't have been like, by the way, we don't think we're going to be able to put on the show that we want here, so we're not going to go. Like 2 days before it, should have been like, guys, these are mud huts and wet tents. Like, don't go anywhere near it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I think that definitely, and even the man himself, Ja Rule himself, this guy, like you're saying, it was almost like the people running about him were just like, let's just see if he can actually pull this off. Aye. And just sort of sitting back and waiting for a disaster to happen. He should have been on, he's got, I'm sure, a lot of followers on social media. He and people that were going to that festival, every single one of them would have been following him. He should have come out and went, I've arrived, don't come. Mm-hmm. Don't go on that plane.
Yeah. He seemed to like be quite a prominent figure at the start of it, and then as the blame started getting cast about, you don't really see very much of him.
Off.
You know what
That's
I mean?
really what happened, and now he's trying to play victim.
Right. And
it's like, no, because you distance yourself from it when you started to realise that it wasn't going to go the way you thought it was. I'd have thought there that when you were saying about these people were standing back going, we knew it was going to be a disaster. For what I know, the very little that I know about big events, they are kind of verging on disaster.
I suppose I.
And I think that the distinction between one that's about to go tits up and one that just gets out of the line is probably very indistinguishable when it goes into the last sort of 4 or 5 days. I mean, we had that example happen here in Bellahouston with Green Day, where they were saying that it was the rain, and then it turned out that they hadn't even built the stage, and there was health and safety certificates that weren't right, and X, Y, and Z. And I think that the legit festivals are verging on disaster a lot of the time, and they just pull them off.
Well, quite possibly. I mean, it's all very well maybe having issues with a stage, but I mean, these guys were selling condos and villas that didn't exist. You know what I mean? Like, they were like a pure beach mansion, dude. And it was like, aye, how much? Like 250 grand. And you're like, here's a disaster tent that's wet inside. You know what I mean? Like, there's probably like a spectrum in play there in that regard. You know what I mean? Like,
could you imagine the feeling that the people got when the guy just went, just go to any tent and they all just ran?
Just like, running.
I mean, but that guy that won the raffle hopefully was just standing back, pushing himself off and just like, this is fucking excellent. But well, I seen it. I think I would have probably all been petrified. Like, no lights, pitch black, man. You would need to
get a little bit hairy, didn't it?
Fucking arming yourself, sitting in the middle of
sleeping in shifts and all the rest of
it. But like you're saying, I mean, and it might just be our perception of it is I've got no fucking sympathy for them.
I
had very little sympathy, but what I did find very intriguing, and again, we're talking earlier on, we need to learn for stuff. You need to learn for things like that. You need to look at it and go, what the fuck happened? How did somebody, I mean, see if you do a simple, I mean, they were saying that they were going to take, 30,000 people. They ended up with 300. They ended up with a 747 full of people, like one plane. I think it was like 30,000 over the course of the weekend.
Something like that. I think we're talking about 10,000 a day.
Right. or 3 days.
Aye.
See if you actually look at the size of the island, you couldn't get 10,000
They
people
were saying
on it.
tops like 2-3 was the most you could get on it.
So if you're talking about like due diligence or warnings, if you even, I mean, when I book a holiday, one of the first things I do is I go on Google Maps and go, like, what's near it? What's there?
Is it a building site?
Or not even just before that. Just go and have a wee look and go what's there, and then look at Street View and be like, oh, this place is cool. It looks like we're going to be able to do this. If you had done that, you'd have looked at it and went, how the fuck is 10,000 people going to fit on that? It was basically a runway and some trees.
Yep.
And one building.
Yep.
And they were expecting to run a fucking.
I think it's funny in its audacity. So it's like I love a good con man story. So they like,
especially in this day and age.
Aye.
The
Definitely.
amount of information, I think you could get away with fucking anything.
Aye, and it's that thing is like, I also quite like that, although the guy was a total scumbag, that he kind of basically targeted other scumbags. You know what I mean?
Aye.
Is that way? It was fair game for me. So
It wasn't pensioners.
No,
He wasn't trying
no.
to get pensioners to go to the Caribbean to
No,
watch Blink 182.
he'd have been like pure, my new thing's gunging him. Like, gunge him. But no. Sorry.
Your new thing's guns.
Aye. It's just I don't know why. I started chatting with somebody in work and it just came out. And it was like somebody was getting on my nails and I was just fucking gunge him. And I'm like, no, that's
South
Man
Park
City.
style gunging.
Aye. So get that guy when he's stealing pensioners' money and fucking gunge him.
Brilliant. That's us at like tours.
Oof.
So I think my legs are getting sore.
I really, really need to pee.
Aye, so I think we'll just break there, man. I actually really enjoyed just the two of us, man.
Yeah.
Like episode 20, so it's been quite cool. Get a couple of like decent things in the horizon for the podcast, and hopefully we can continue with the shorts thing.
Yeah.
Keep it going, man. Because I said I thought it was hilarious. It was like your tone was sarcastic, and when we listened to it, I was just like, aye, it's brilliant. So
Well, thanks very much, man. I'm going to keep it going. It's one of the things I've been my sort of plan for the new year, we've talked about in the various sort of sponsorships, is that I wanted to get back into some sort of writing, and we was already in about the podcast side of things. The shorts felt like a good kind of marriage of the two. You know what I mean? So there's definitely more in the pipeline.
awesome, man. Well, cool. Just end it there, man.
Aye.
Cheers,
See you later,
dude.
mate.